สมชายสมชายชาย
Hello, what's up? What's up?
can.
For a moment to tell you, humans have been using GMO crops for like half a century at this point. I saw a video over how dangerous they were and blah blah blah, but even if you make a tomato fatter by combining it with an extraordinarily fat tomato, that's still considered GMO because it's been genetically modified. Basically, don't fall for that crap with like the scary words and ooh, it's scary. But alright, getting off my soapbox. As Sean heads into work, honestly, everyone looks like, again, they're already zombies. As it goes along, people are dropping out at bus stops as something seems to be amiss. And I'm about to feel incredibly old right now, as Sean is then running forming a team as their boss is out because he feels bad. The 17-year-old calls him old man because Sean's only 29. God, I remember believing, like when I first saw this movie, that 29 was old, and now I'm past that. Oh God. Anyways, to wrap this up, Philip comes in and tells Sean to bring flowers next time he visits his mom, and then Liz calls, which Sean tells her that everything is good to go at the restaurant, so no sweat. But sweat will be had because that was just a bold-faced lie. But as Sean goes to sell TVs on the TV, a news report comes over with military vehicles and hazmat suits, and people in general looking to take extreme care with something, as it seems to be a bit of an issue with military trucks driving by once Philip leaves. As Sean stops at the flower shop to get flowers for a wonderful mom, he spots a man outside in the park going Ozzy Osbourne on a pigeon, then disappears. I mean, literally disappears like Batman style with a bus going by. Riding the bus home, everyone is either coughing or passing out. Kind of sounds like Georgia right now as a cold is sweeping through here and basically putting everyone on their butt, myself included, a few weeks ago. Getting off the bus, a man has passed out in his car as an ambulance arrives, and then he runs into Yvonne, who's also just kind of surviving. She jogs his memory about having to call the restaurant, then he panic calls them, and they just gave away their last table. He then gets a call from Liz as he suggests, hey, why don't we just go to the Winchester? Which, that was not the right answer. Heading over to her flat, Harry Potter won't let her in as Sean attempts to scale the wall. Harry then scolds Sean, as we get the feeling that maybe Potter has feelings for Liz, which is why he doesn't like Sean. So at this point, Liz then breaks up with Sean as it ceremoniously starts to rain. And man, I've been in there, walking in the rain, watching people make out outside of the bar, then heading in and proceeding to get annihilated. It is a classic. So Ed attempts to cheer Sean up, to really no avail, as they then proceed to get absolutely schlackered. As they talk about the interesting characters at the bar, a man shows up and smacks the glass, but then eventually goes away. Later on, leaving the bar, Sean and Ed walk past the couple who have been outside the whole time, and they're still out there. Man, you think she would have like eaten through his neck by now, which she actually has. In the background, that dude's head just starts falling off, which that sucks. As the two walk along, you can't really hum what they're singing, as I will literally get copyright hit on this video for like a melody being similar to a song. Like the game I'm covering in live streams, The Quarry, I use something that had the melody of a song, and they're like, oh, that's copyright. It's ridiculous. Anyways, but because they're so hammered, when the zombie responds with a groan, they don't really think anything of it. Getting home, they continue the party at 4 a.m. However, Pete isn't too jazzed about this. Coming downstairs, he yells at them, remarking that he's got a splitting headache and their stupid hip-hop isn't helping, which actually is not hip-hop at all, it's electro. But Ed asks him how he was bit on the hand, and Pete says that he was jumped after work and he has no idea why they bit him, but the front door is open again and he's pretty upset. He tells Ed to go live in a shed because he's so thick, and that'll be important later, depending on your definition of important, and Sean writes to get his life sorted out and then passes out in the kitchen. Waking up the next morning, the same stuff is happening in different ways. Car broken, guy sprinting instead of jogging, but also it's the same because of society. Okay, I gotta stop joking about that. Anyhow, as they head into the shop, there's blood on the glass, but Sean really doesn't notice anything. The owner starts walking towards Sean, but he continues to not notice. Walking around with his breakfast of champions once again, he passes the homeless man and then heads back inside his house. We get the station broadcast that literally tells what's happening, which always made me laugh. Basically, as he flips through, it's a continuation of the same sentence, which is everybody's just literally being eaten alive. But then he decides to stop on one channel in particular as Ed tells Sean that there's a girl in the garden. Looking out there, there is indeed a girl in the garden, or really yard in the US. Ed then throws a rock at her as she turns around and they think she's just completely hammered. She falls on Sean as Ed takes a picture, as then Sean pushes her off and she falls on a pipe. But then she gets back up like nothing happened. That kind of sucks. So they both turn to go back inside as another shambler comes towards them. Sean tries to call the cops asking if they're actually still out there, and as Ed checks the window, yep, they're still right outside the window. Turning back to the TV, they are told to barricade all doors and windows as the front door was left open again. And if you ever watch my stream, if someone has an arm off, this is literally where I got that from, because Prom Date over here has an arm off. They overpower him as they attempt to defend themselves from the zombies in the backyard next. After expending everything that they had, including the records, they just decide to break into the shed and get the cricket bat and shovel, which is pretty iconic. They then head back inside as the report says that they need to isolate anyone who's been bitten. Sean now realizes that Liz is still a person in the world and zombies are everywhere. Sean gets a call from his mom mom saying that some men tried to bite them, but only Philip was bitten, much to Sean's relief. So they devise a plan. Take car, go to mom's house, kill Phil, go to the Winchester, have a pint, and wait for all this to blow over. It's honestly the perfect plan, complicated by Harry Potter and his girlfriend and the zombie hordes. Looking out at the mail slot, they spot the horde shambling next to the car. Heading upstairs to clean himself up first, Sean spots Pete in the shower. Having turned in there, he shambles out and attempts to grab Sean, but he's able to escape as they head outside. They're then kicked by the kid with the soccer ball from earlier. Well, they're hit with the soccer ball anyways. And then they drive out into the hellscape of England. Ed puts on some punk rock as they hit someone, and then they check on him. To their relief, he was already infected. Pulling up to Sean's parents, Ed elects to stay in the car as Sean then heads inside to confront Philip. Heading in the living room, he goes to take out Philip, saying he's sorry, but Philip hasn't actually turned yet. Philip seems to think it's just a bunch of drug nuts as Sean tries to convince his mom to leave with him. So at this point, Philip and Barbara both come out and find that Ed has crashed the parked car. The zombies arrive and bite Philip in the neck, and then they all get in as Ed drives. Arriving at Liz's, Sean then exits through the moonroof and then heads into the apartment, or flat. Pushing the button, zombies show up, ruining Sean's chance to talk to them as he has to climb up to Liz's. Harry Potter then scolds Sean over causing more of the zombies to show up, and Sean convinces them to go as they exit the flat and then head back to the car. Ed pulls up as they all jump in and then head towards the Winchester. Philip at this point ain't looking so hot. Ed keeps smashing into everyone as Philip tries to get Sean's attention. Philip tells him that being a father isn't easy and then tells him to do well and look after his mom, and then goes towards the light. Sean tells Ed to pull over as he finally does, and then Sean says that Philip is gone, to which his mom looks back there and no, actually Philip's alright. The music then gets turned on in a scuffle and they have to leave Philip behind. The mom protests as Sean says there's nothing about the man in there that is her husband, as then he leans over and turns off the music to his obvious relief, which again, this whole movie just makes me laugh. But it's interesting as it indicates a piece of everyone is still in there despite meeting their end. Walking through the yards and hearing the chaos, or just with bar patrons in the distance being eaten, they run to Yvonne and her group, which is almost an exact Walmart replica of Sean's group. She wishes them luck on getting to the Winchester as they part ways. Barbara at this point spots one of her friends in the house in another yard as Sean jumps over the fence and gets in a fight with a zombie. Ed and Harry then sit idly by as Sean's able to pin a zombie to a tree. Sean climbs up a slide and looks over the fence to spot the Winchester is completely surrounded. Looking at the zombie, they elect to now study it. Looking at its vacant face with a hint of sadness, they attempt to replicate its movement before heading on in an attempt to survive. Now, it could just be me, but it seems like a bit of a bad idea to pit yourself in the middle of all this, but hey, whatever doesn't work. Moving through, it does seem to be somewhat effective for a time, but as they try to break in, they start to get noticed by other zombies. A fight breaks out between Ed and Sean as Ed gets a phone call and then answers it. In the fight, they have alerted the entire horde that they are just standing there, and Harry has the wonderful idea of breaking the window, which forces Sean to try to lead the crowd away from the rest of the group as they all head inside with Barbara finding flowers in the trash can. Going inside, Harry wants to reparo the window before Sean gets back. Liz tells him that they need to remain quiet as he's basically alerting everyone out there that they are in here. Like a total tool, Harry is bringing up some valid points. Unfortunately, what is it? The worst person you know just made a valid point about basically food and water and what are they going to do. Liz yells at him to stop until Sean returns. Sean has now officially returned and Harry asks him, "How did you get away?" And Sean says, "I just gave him the slip. He got in through the back door," which he tried to tell them before he broke the window, exposing them. So they spend the rest of the night sitting there asking one another if anyone would like a peanut and drinking beer to pass the time. The streetlights end up coming on, which lets everyone know that they actually do still have power. As Sean goes on to turn the power, he spots the window is absolutely filled with infected, as there are in fact zombies inside of the building too as the doorknob turns. Ed then borrows money from Liz as they flip through TV stations. Ed then goes on to a lottery machine or a slot machine or whatever it is, turning it on, letting everyone know outside that they are inside. The bar owner now shows up to begin the attack as Queen plays. You can't hear it because I will absolutely get decimated with copyright, but trust me, they're going to the beat. They attempt to quietly take out the owner, which doesn't go very well as they can't do enough damage. Harry then heads back as he flips the switch, lighting up the whole area, and then throws Sean a force multiplier as they realize this thing is actually loaded. And again, this is kind of funny to me because like in the US, it's just so common, but they now have a successful way of repelling the zombies, but Barbara isn't looking so good. She gives Liz a necklace as Liz then realizes that Barbara was actually bitten early on. Why is there always someone who is bitten that doesn't tell the group? Who knows? So Sean can't aim at all, which again is hilarious, but they're able to repel enough of them as Liz calls over Sean and tells him that she's infected. They give Harry the Elder Winchester as Barbara then begins turning and convulsing in front of Sean. Harry pulls the Winchester on Barbara as Sean breaks a bottle and pulls it on Harry. Harry is speaking facts, but everything he says is tainted because he likes Liz. So this results in a standoff where Barbara is allowed to get back up as she's gone full zombie. Sean takes her out at this point, which Harry doesn't make the situation better. Sean then turns and punches Harry, who grabs the Winchester and pulls the trigger on Sean, but it's empty. Harry then freaks out and tries to leave, but stands in front of a window. Before he can apologize to Sean, the window is then broken and Harry is pulled out, and he's basically just absolutely inundated because Diane tries to go get Harry. Pete then arrives to the party and bites Ed on the arm as Sean takes out Pete, who responds to his name being called, which means there is some memory. The three of them then end up behind the bar with Ed bleeding and infected as Sean